Hello, and a huge welcome back to all our Let's Scouting viewers. Today, we're pulling up a log around the campfire for a really special storytelling session. We're diving right into an explainer of Campfire Yarn number 20, Chivalry to Others. Now, this isn't just some dusty history lesson, right? It's a deep dive into the very core of what makes a scout, well, a scout. We're going to look at how these ancient, legendary codes of honor literally shape the choices we make every single day. So get comfortable, and let's uncover the absolute bedrock of true chivalry together.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We've got 1. Knights, Arthur and George. 2. The Knight's Code. 3. Self-sacrifice, Captain Oates. 4. Kindness and generosity. 5. Refusing tips. And finally, 6. Politeness towards women. All right, let's jump in.
Section 1. Knights, Arthur and George. So think back to those epic tales of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table from, 1,500 years ago. These guys weren't just running around in shiny armor swinging swords for the fun of it. They were a brotherhood with a serious purpose. Just look at the parallel between an ancient knight in heavy plate armor and a modern scout in uniform. Honestly, while the gear has completely changed, the mission hasn't shifted an inch. Back in the day, a knight roamed the land looking for anyone in distress. Today, a scout does the exact same thing in their own neighborhood. The uniform is different, sure, but that heart of chivalry, that absolute burning desire to help people, it's identical.
And then you have St. George, the patron saint of scouts worldwide, fearlessly taking on a literal dragon. The legend goes that he rode straight into a toxic swamp to save a princess from being sacrificed to this monster. Even when things looked completely hopeless and he was down to just his sword, he didn't back down. No way, he charged right forward. The big takeaway here is that a true scout, much like St. George, has to be prepared to face danger head-on when someone else's safety is on the line. Basically, you don't run from the dragon, you face it.
Section 2. The Knight's Code.
We love the myths, but these ancient warriors actually swore to live by a strict, real-world code. This wasn't just a polite list of suggestions. It was literally a matter of life and death. Listen to how intense these are. Always be armed and ready. Protect the poor and the weak. Defend your country bravely. Never break a promise. And, most hardcore of all, choose to die with honor over living with shame. They lived in a brutal, chaotic time, and this code kept them totally grounded in service instead of just looking out for number one. What's absolutely wild is that these ancient rules form the actual foundation of our modern scout laws. Sure, the phrasing is updated for us today, but the DNA of that ancient knight's code is 100% alive in every promise a scout makes.
Section 3. Self-sacrifice, Captain Oates.
Okay, now we're going to pivot from ancient history to a really harsh, real-world extreme from just over a century ago. We're talking about the ultimate expression of this code, self-sacrifice. But first, let's nail down what unselfishness actually means for a true knight. It means existing not just for yourself, but intentionally living for the betterment, safety, and service of others. It's that realization that, hey, we aren't the center of the universe. Being a scout means your life is fundamentally geared towards service.
Let me share a harrowing, true story that hits the nail on the head here. Back in 1912, Captain Lawrence Oates was part of a British expedition struggling to return from the South Pole. The conditions were just apocalyptic. We're talking freezing temperatures, blinding snow, severe frostbite. The team was starving, totally exhausted, and moving incredibly slow. Now, Captain Oates was in the worst shape, his feet were severely frostbitten, and he knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was slowing his best friends down. He realized that if he stayed, the delay would cost every single one of them their lives.
So one morning, Captain Oates simply stood up, looked at his friends, and told them he was going outside in maybe some time. Then he just walked right out of the tent into a roaring, blinding blizzard. He chose to freeze to death so that his crew wouldn't have to carry him, giving them a fighting chance to survive on the tiny bit of food they had left. He was never seen again. That right there is the absolute pinnacle of the Knight's Code. He literally chose his friends' lives over his own.
Section 4. Kindness and generosity.
All right, let's all take a collective breath. That is a really heavy, extreme example of survival. Let's bring things back down to our everyday lives. Most of us aren't going to be asked to walk into a blizzard anytime soon, right? But we are asked to practice chivalry through daily acts of kindness. A scout helping an elderly neighbor carry some firewood might seem tiny compared to battling a dragon or braving the Antarctic, but honestly, it's not. The foundational promise of a scout is to do at least one good turn every single day, no matter how small it seems.
helping someone with heavy bags, pointing a lost tourist in the right direction, or just leaving a campsite cleaner than when you got there? These everyday actions are exactly how we practice being modern-day knights.
Now, chivalry also requires a bit of street smarts, especially when it comes to generosity. The source text gives us some very specific practical advice here. It points out that blindly handing out cash to beggars on the street can sometimes, unfortunately, do more harm than good. Not everyone is genuinely destitute, and some situations might be scams. Instead, a true scout gives wisely. If you really want to help, the best move is to donate your resources to established, reputable charities. That way, you're ensuring your generosity actually reaches the people who are truly in desperate need. It's all about being smart with your chivalry.
Section 5. Refusing tips.
This leads us right into one of the most unique and, honestly, sometimes the toughest rules of the whole scouting movement, the absolute refusal of tips. This takes a massive shift in how you think. In a regular transactional mindset, you do a job, you help someone out, and you expect to get paid for it. But the scout mindset is totally different. A scout helps someone purely out of chivalry, duty, and just plain goodwill. If you help someone and they try to hand you a few bucks, the scout's response is to politely decline and say, "Thank you, but I'm a scout, and we don't take money for doing a good turn." I really challenge you to try this. It completely flips how you view service when you realize there's zero financial incentive attached to it.
And hey, if you're sitting there thinking refusing a small tip doesn't really matter, you have to hear this incredible historical story from 1909. An American businessman was completely lost in this thick, soupy London fog. A young boy walked up, guided him safely all the way to his destination, and when the American tried to hand him a tip, the boy just refused. He said it was simply his duty as a scout. Well, the American was so utterly stunned by this act of selfless chivalry that he marched right over to the scout headquarters in London, learned the whole shebang about the movement, and brought it all the way back across the Atlantic Ocean. That single, unnamed boy refusing a handful of coins is the literal reason the Boy Scouts of America exist today. Your small actions, they can have massive consequences.
Section 6. Politeness towards women.
All right, we are arriving at the final vital virtue of the Knight's Code for today's explainer, and it's all about maintaining the utmost respect and courtesy. But first, to show what true courtesy actually looks like, let's look at this kind of hilarious story from history. Julius Caesar was once over for dinner at the home of a poor farmer. The farmer, trying his absolute best, accidentally served Caesar an entire plate of terrible, incredibly sour pickles instead of a nice vegetable dish. Now, Caesar was the most powerful man in the world, right? But he calmly sat there and ate the entire plate without making a single face or uttering one complaint. Why? Purely to avoid insulting his host, who was just trying his best. True politeness means putting the feelings of others way ahead of your own comfort.
Going all the way back to King Arthur's original crew, a defining trait of any true knight was their unwavering respect, protection, and courtesy towards all women, no matter their age or status. A modern scout carries that exact same torch today. Whether it's kindly helping a woman who just dropped her groceries, offering up your seat on the bus, assisting with a heavy load, or simply speaking with genuine respect, a scout is always a gentleman.
Which brings us to the end of our storytelling session today, and I really want to leave you with a direct challenge. We've talked about St. George battling dragons, Captain Oates' incredible sacrifice, everyday kindness, and true courtesy. But just knowing the history isn't enough, is it? So how are you going to practice the spirit of the Knights of the Round Table in your everyday life, starting right now, today? Will you go out of your way to do that one good turn? Will you step up and refuse a reward? The shiny armor might be long gone, but let's be real, the world needs knights now more than ever. Think about it, act on it, and until next time, keep the spirit of chivalry alive.